teach you how to refine your mask before you start adding applique. You can see I started to carve, I pierced out, but there's all these different chunks and bumps, even things that need to come off. So before you start putting anything appliqued onto your mask, or even before you even carve, it's nice to get the surface nice and clean. So all I'm doing is taking my clean fingertip, dipping it slightly in water. Slightly is the key word, because we do not want to make a bunch of slip, because then you're going to have a frosting texture. So you want to always clean your finger off. I have a little sponge here. You could also use the tablecloth at your seat, or any kind of cloth near you. Paper towel works too, just to keep cleaning your finger off. And it does not take long. You're going to simply get it perfect before you start to put things on. It'll make it a lot easier for it to look nice in the end. So going through, making sure my finger is nice and clean, a little damp, just so it glides along the clay. I'm going through and making sure everything looks lovely. Whenever I don't want something to change position, I support it with my other hand. So you can see I'm supporting this eyelid with my other finger. Making sure the nose is the way I want it to look. Now there's tight areas in here that I can't reach because my fingers are a little bit too large. So I'm going to show you some tips on that too. So making sure all of the edges are completely, quickly refined and nice. Refined means to make better. On the edge here, see all those rough edges and chunks? Look how easy this is. Clean and then wipe. Pull and then wipe. Get all of these crumbs and bumps and edges that are not attractive clean, even on the sides. We're going around the whole thing. So as I'm doing this, I am just cleaning up all of these areas. Once it looks good, I need to get into the tight spots. So you might find at your seat, you've got paintbrushes of different sizes. Those work great. Get them wet, reach on into those tight areas, get things to smooth, rinse your brush. There's also larger ones to get on the sides where your hands might keep bumping. You'll notice I'm constantly tugging at even the brushes. I want all of the chunks to come off. Little brush inside the nostrils, inside any tight spaces. I also have a bin of tools that aren't in your toolkit. So you might find little rubber things like this where you can either texture with that or smooth with it. So after you get that done, according to my picture, I've got a bunch of things to applique. So just gonna show you little tricks about that as well. If you have your slab scraps from last time, you're gonna roll them out even smaller on your cloth with a rolling pin. I used one right here. I rolled out some of my shapes along the side here of the head. I've got a larger shape that I'm going to score and slip right to the back end of here. Now I'm just moving my paper towel around so I can reach that area. I'm going to tuck it underneath when I attach it. The reason that I'm doing that instead of going right here is if I put this on, there's still always going to be a weak spot at that seam, so I'm gonna go underneath to score and slip that on. It also has a double layer to it. You can see this line. I could do this two ways. I could roll a coil and put a coil scored and slipped for that stripe, or I could actually layer the same shape. And what I did is I rolled out the slab and I just kind of eyeballed it. I went against the other one and I drew it on. Now I can cut that out and I can score and slip that on. Now that it's refined, I can take those lashes and score and slip those on. Lots of things score. You could use your fettling knife, you could use your needling tool, there's forks, there's all sorts of things, so you wanna do that. Remember, you're scoring both areas so that they lock in place. And you can set these down. I'm just in the air because of my video's sake, but making sure it's got nice amount of slip on it. Go ahead and press into place. Now look what I've done. I scored and now there's score marks showing. So a great thing to do is just get rid of them right away using those tools. Got this one here. This is nice. It's just a rubbery point. I can kind of sneak in there and squish and blend. And then I picked up some crumbs from that. Go ahead and use your brush to really get those seams to look nice and clean. Okay, I've made some coil spirals that are going to be scored and slipped along the top end of the hair, and I kind of wanted to show you quickly how I did that. First, I just rolled a simple coil. Second, I used the handle of this one of my tools. It could be any tool. It could even be the paintbrushes that's in the middle of your table. You don't want it to be too dry, so once you roll your coil, then you just kind of, without pushing too hard, slide it off, and I've got a nice coil that I can then score and slip on as the bangs. I have a series of leaves in my drawing, and they're all similar sizes, so I wanted to talk about how you can use one that you like the size of and use it as a pattern. So if I like this size, I'm just gonna go on another thin slab, put it down, trace it, and then when I cut it out, I have exactly the same size. So if you want to repeat something, you can. Or if you don't have the initial one and you want the size, you can take your actual drawing. Once again, you'd be doing this on your tablecloth, but you can push through with your needle tool. I'm just putting enough pressure that I can see a thin line of where I traced, and then I can get exactly the same size as my drawing. Then you can cut it out and score and slip it on. So all of my pieces need to be clean, refined, scored and slipped. We're working on planning, but in the meantime, we are making sure that everything looks good along the way. Makes it easier for you in the end to get a better score. I'm seeing some cracking on my coils there. I'm just adding water to my brush and smoothing them out. I will also have to put little score marks on the back side. The coil itself, little slip, push and wiggle. That should be sufficient enough to get it to stay. You'll want to do that in several spots to make sure that it's good. And then we're just kind of continuing as building our masks. If you have any questions about how to make something, how to build something, whether you're on the right track, I will be walking around checking your work as you go and making lots of suggestions. So today is day 2 of masks, and we are just cleaning up and attaching and carving and incising and piercing. Make sure you get all of them. All right.